Perfect. Hi, this is Chuck Boyce with CB Creative and another Tuesday Pulse AI. Last week we talked about the containment gap, which is the window to step in and catch an AI mistake, and how that window closes fast as you move from a prompt to an assistant to an agent. And so we left off a hard question. When you put a human in the loop, now what does that human actually do? So today we'll talk about who catches it, how you build the thing that lets them catch it, and then just check out. So if you think about you're running AI somewhere in your business, whether it's creating drafts or writing invoices or customer replies, just think who reviews it against what standard? And could you answer both of those questions? Who reviews? What standard are they reviewing against? And so we'll touch on that. Human in the loop is not a review. It's really a seating chart. So putting a person in the workflow tells you where they sit. It doesn't tell you what they check, when they check it, or if they can stop anything. Most teams have that human in the loop, and they call it governance, but do they really know what that human's supposed to do? Sure, somebody looks at it, and so the last week's recap real quick. AI moves from a prompt. You type it, you can catch things very quickly. An assistant will help you draft things. You can intercede, but it does a lot more work than just a prompt. And an agent acts on its own. It's autonomous, it does things, and oftentimes you don't have the time to catch a mistake. And so that gap widens. Again, prompt, you see the output before anything. An agent, everything's already happened. And so let's talk about where it stands. Go into the blunt version. A reviewer who rubber stamps is worse than no reviewer. And so, because you're starting to play with false confidence, you think the output got checked, but it really just got glanced at. Everyone downstream trusts it more because, quote, someone reviewed it. A bad review layer doesn't just catch or fail to catch the errors, it actually launders them. And so again, you think it's being done right, but somebody's just rubber stamping. So when you add in human, you still miss errors. And why is that? For three reasons. None of them is the human's lazy or you hired the wrong person. These are basically structural, and they happen to good people who have good intents. So this is what trips up everybody. It's automation bias. They think that the more reliable a system gets, the less the human checks it. And think about it from a reviewer's chair, right? So tool's been right 95 times out of 100. What does that train you to do? It's like, well, it's 95% good. I really don't need to review it much more. But when you start skimming, then you start doing things on autopilot, which means that those 5 that were wrong is exactly the 5 that no one's paying attention to. And so the reliability doesn't shrink the risk, it hides it. Anyone who thinks we'll just wait for better models make this worse, not better. You still trust, but are you checking? And again, if you start to rely, you have a bias that thinks that, hey, it's 95% reliable, that's good. But again, that 5% may be something that gets you into trouble. So next, there's no standard to review against. Review the output. It's not an instruction. What are you reviewing for? If you put your output in front of 2 people on your team and they flag 2 different things, or one flags nothing, you don't have a review, you just have a vibe check. And so you have people looking at it, but you never gave them a standard of what they're looking for to not just approve, but how to reject something that's wrong. And so it doesn't just produce a repeatable one, you have to find out where that standard is. And the third one is kind of subtle. It's adjacent territory. So the reviewer checks the exact thing they were told to check, but misses the thing sitting right next to it. And so they look at it and the invoice total is right. The vendor got sent to is wrong. And so They may look at the bottom line, taxes, everything looks good, but did they review who it's being sent to? Did it send it to the wrong vendor or the wrong client? Did a client get wrong information? Nobody owned that field. They were just checking on the final number. So it wasn't anybody's job to check on, oh, who's it being sent to? They were looking at one thing. And so that's that adjacent territory. Your review layer never gets to that point. And so here's what you have to ask yourself. Who reviews the AI output and against what standard? And most have the first. Somebody looks at it and almost none have the second. And so why is that written standard? Where is that written standard? And so here is what I have as a fix. It's 4 checkpoints. Together they turn human looks at it into an actual review layer called the catch layer. There's a trigger, an owner, a standard, and a stop point. One rule that makes it work: you build this before you deploy it, not after the first bad output shows and you have to rework it. You have to think about this in the design point. And so 4 checkpoints, we'll talk to them one at a time. Number 1, the trigger. What actually gets reviewed? The answer is not everything. If you review everything, then you review nothing because your people burn out, they start skimming, you go back to the automation bias. So you have to pick a trigger. Is it high volume, high dollar? Is it customer facing? Is it legal? Is it irreversible? That's your starting point. Where is the highest risk when you consider automating something? If the failure touches billing, refunds, a customer, legal, reputation, it gets humanized. That's full stop. Anything that else can be overridden. Really, if you're just doing contract review, or if you're doing transcription, or if you're drafting an email, those things can be fine. But if it's high dollar, high value, customer facing, something that's going to ruin your reputation, destroy your business, those are the things that have to set your trigger on. Checkpoint 2 is who's the owner, who's accountable by name, not just the team reviews it, not operations, not management. It's a person, a named person who's going to be responsible for, not only responsible, but accountable for the output. That's your point person, somebody that you can report to. And that's point person may just be in charge of reviewing, but they may also be in charge of anything around AI, such as setting your policy, documenting who gets to do what, creating your ownership tables of where things get approved and who owns them. But you do need to have a name of who catches it. If it's someone catches it, if it's no one, you don't have that accountability. And so a team doesn't own it, a named person. That happens in business, in every part of your business. There is someone accountable. AI is a new part of your business. You need to have somebody accountable for the AI. So checkpoint 3 is your standard, and this is the one that kills the vibe check, meaning that the reviewer needs a checklist, not instincts, not this looks right to me, but written down. And so what does a good output actually contain? There's 5 things that need to be true before this goes out. Here's the test whether your standard is real. So again, if you have 2 reviewers and they look at the same output, that checklist should allow them to reach the same conclusion. And so if they don't, the standard lives in one person's head or 2 persons' heads, and they may have difference of opinion. If one person takes a vacation, or if the only person takes a vacation, is that checklist there? It's just like training your AI as a new employee. If somebody goes on vacation, is there ownership and accountability? So, and then the last checkpoint 4 is the stop. And this is where a lot of people skip, because this is the one that actually has teeth in it. The reviewer has to be able to actually halt the thing, not just flag it, not file a note, but actually be able to stop it. And flagging, but not stopping, you build a complaint box and not really a control. And so the containment only works if the human in the window can actually close that containment gap. And so Like I mentioned last week, the containment is the window that matters between the person if they can close it. And the bigger the gap, the harder it is to close. And so what you want to do is see the problem. If somebody can see the problem but they can't stop it, then what's the use of that person? So again, before you deploy, who has the authority to stop something if they notice there is something wrong? So easy screenshot here if you want it. Grab this one, read all four. It's the trigger, what gets reviewed, the owner who's responsible or accountable by name, a standard, a checklist of what good means, written down, followable, repeatable. And the stop is who can actually stop if something goes wrong. Very simple framework. So let's talk money, because you're thinking, this process, I don't have time for this. This is extra overhead. But if you miss it, the catch layer doesn't stay invisible. It shows up in your invoice. It shows up in your customers returning. It shows up in possibility of not having a liability legal case against you. So if you're watching this as a recording, the pricing I mentioned is anchored to right now, which is July 2026. And so verify your current token and API rates before you quote them, because they will move. But anyway, your rework. What happens if something goes wrong and you have to unwind it? What is the human labor and the potential business cost to doing rework? Data exposure. Nobody reviewed what the agent could actually reach. And this is the shadow AI that I've mentioned many times. At an agent level, an agent quietly feeding data into a tool that nobody sanctioned, that's not a good thing. Compliance. If there's no log of who reviewed, that means you have no defensible record. If a regulator, an insurance person, a client, an attorney, if anybody comes to you and says that we need proof of what you did, it's not a gap, it's a finding, and you have to be able to document what you've done. Token and API drift is another cost that's going to be there. The agent that gets looping, if there's no one there to monitor it and stop it, that means something that it keeps trying to fix and it gets caught in a loop and it keeps sending the same API calls out to whatever LLM you're using. If it's caught in that loop, you get charged for every API call. And so if you can't catch that, you're just running up that token drift or your API drift. And it can get to be really expensive, especially in a high volume, or can understand how that works. The more customers, the more volume, the more risk. So from the field, watched a team find out the reviewer had been approving batches of 40, not reading them, just clicking approval 40 at a time. And here's what I want you to think about. He wasn't negligent. He was doing his job and he was good. The system trained him to do it. And he was right so many times that it felt like a waste of the day. And so he just pretty much started automating it. And this is automation bias with a paycheck, because the fix wasn't a better employee, it was a trigger. And he was only reviewing batches that mattered. And so again, if you can just start rubber stamping this, it looks like somebody has a job, they're doing it, but what are they reviewing against? And here's the part, you can build it in 10 minutes. You don't need a big policy binder. You just need 10 minutes in one workflow. Pick an AI-touched workflow that you're working on. Just one, whether it's a customer control, you're trying to answer the phone for customer support or something like that. The messiest is your highest stakes. And so start with a low-lying one that you can get your policy or your framework in place. Number 2 is your trigger. Write it down, what the human sees. Number 3 is your owner. Name that one person with a name, write it down. And then 4 is your standard. List the 5 things a good output has to have. That's your first version. This is iterative, you're going to change it. And 5 is going to be the stop point. Decide who can stop a run, who can tell them not to run it. And that's your catch layer. It's rough, but it's real, and it's something you can start to implement in 10 minutes. And the first draft may work, but again, I mentioned it's an iterative process. You'll find where it can be fine-tuned. And if you need to assign new people, if you need to find new triggers, if you need to have new checklists. But anyway, thing to remember is that you don't need better AI. You need someone to catch it when the AI is wrong. A lot of people, again, going back to that, we'll just wait for a better model. But no, it's not the AI. It's the policies around AI. It's rarely the technology that is the failure point. Even though AI is known to hallucinate, it's getting better, but it's the human that is the responsible, accountable person. So before you make it runtime, make those changes. Don't wait until the 5% fail comes around. So if you already have AI running and you're not sure how to catch, this is exactly what I do. We walk through your workflows, find out where the checkpoints have holes, figure out what needs to be fixed. Again, 10 minutes, and if the answer is great, go for it. If not, book a call with me, cbcreative.com/contact. Set up a 15-minute call, quickly discuss and see if we need to talk further. Outside of that, that is what I have to share today. I will stop the recording.